Now at Lowe's. Faster quotes start at the Lowe's Pro Desk. Got a material list handwritten on a sticky note or saved as a photo? Perfect. Bring it to us and get a quote in minutes. And if you don't see what you need on the shelf, we'll help you get it. You can access thousands of products beyond what's available in-store or on Lowes.com, right from the Lowe's Pro Desk. Build quotes faster and source the materials you need to keep your jobs moving. Just like that, at Lowe's.
Morning decisions. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
Hear that? That's now Crispy and McCrispy strips meeting Creamy Caesar sauce. Sounds extra crispy. Caesar sauce at McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Get business done with the new American Express Graphite Business Cash Unlimited card. With unlimited 2% cash back on all eligible purchases. Unlimited 5% cash back on flights and prepaid hotels booked through American Express Travel Online. And a flexible spending capacity that can grow with your business. You'll have the confidence to keep building. Apply today and earn a welcome offer of $1,500 cash back after you spend $50,000 in qualifying purchases on your new card within the first 6 months of card membership. Terms apply. Learn more at go.amex/graphite.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Hey, all you heroes, hawks, crows, rooks, and inquisitors. Welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we unpack, discuss, and theorize about all the lore behind the Dragon Age series.
We are so excited to bring you this podcast. Every episode will be covering a different topic in the Dragon Age universe, from character deep dives to exalted marches and elven gods. We'll cover it all.
There will be spoilers, and always remember, swooping is bad.
That's me. Hello and welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we talk about Dragon Age and its lore. I'm one of your hosts, Austin, also known as Teacup.
And I'm your other host, Shelby or She-Cup.
That's right, you are. And we are here to talk about Dragon Age. And it is time for a favorite segment on this podcast, which is the character deep dive.
That's right. And we've only covered a couple of the ones from the Veilguard so far. Wait.
I think this is our first.
No. We've definitely covered more before. Have we talked about Nev already?
I think we have talked about Nev, and I think because we talked about Nev with Teventer.
Yes, that's right. I don't think we've talked. I think this is number 2 then.
Yes.
All right. So this is our second one. I mean, and to be fair, we've talked about Varric, we've talked about Harding before, but they will have to get their own redone character deep dive one of these days. So with that being said, let's just dive right into everybody's favorite Nevarran Necromancer.
All right, let's do it. So if you didn't catch that today's character deep dive is the one and only Nevarran Necromancer, member of the Mourn Watch. And his standing in the said Mourn Watch is up for your decision. That is Emmrich Volkarin. Volkarin, sorry.
It's okay. I know pronunciation is not your strong suit. Okay, so just diving right into the fun facts here. Emmrich's favorite color is the color lilac, and his favorite flower is the variegated weeping widower.
That's quite the... Say that again.
Variegated weeping widower.
I don't even know what that first word means.
Variegated? Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. I say it all the time with my plants. I have currently nasturtium, variegated nasturtium growing in the garden, and I showed it to you the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at this variegated plant I have. And you were like, I don't know what that word means. And I was like, it's when the leaves are different colors. You're like, oh yeah, I knew that. You've told me that before. Here we are.
I have no memory of this conversation.
It was probably like a month ago, to be fair.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we've definitely discussed the term variegated multiple times.
All right. I understand now.
So let's just move right along into the next fun fact, which is Emmrich's age is never exactly specified in the game itself, though his author, Sylvia Fekete, imagined him being somewhere in his 50s.
Okay, can we... I just, like... Maybe it's just because I'm older and I'm almost closer to 50 than I am 20.
Yeah, almost.
Almost. And so... That just doesn't seem that old.
It's not that old.
To justify the old comments.
I get that. I think a big part of it is, like, he's not just older than the rest of the companions. He also acts and has the taste of an older gentleman. You know what I mean? Like, it's
That's true.
It's not that he's ancient. It's not that he's elderly, but he has grandpa hobbies. Like, let's just be for real. He has grandpa hobbies. No shade. I have grandma hobbies, but that's where I think part of it comes from.
That's probably fair. And that is the kind of thing of, like, Emmrich very much, which is ironic, I think, given his story. When it comes to, like, his hobbies and his personality, he comes off as a man who knows what he wants.
And I think he is.
To some degree.
Yeah.
In most things.
Yes. Fair. We'll get into it. Okay, so next one. He does appear in Tevinter Nights. However, his name is spelled differently. In the Veilguard, it's Volkarin, Volkarin. And in Tevinter Nights, it's Volkarin, Volkahrin.
Interesting. We haven't had a spelling inconsistency in a while on the podcast.
It has been a long time, yeah. I don't really know how that happens, to be honest with you. I would have to go back and check. I didn't do this in my research, but I wonder if it's like that in the short story they released with him too.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'd have to go back and look at that text to kind of see. But I don't know off the top of my head because spellings don't sit in my...
Yes, I'm aware. We love you. I love you. But spelling is not your strong suit. That's for sure. All right. Last fun fact. In a banter with Harding, we learned that Dorian Pavus learned necromancy from Emmrich himself.
Oh, I did not know that.
Well, how often do you have Harding and Emmrich together?
I guess that's fair. I mean, I guess that would make sense. It's not a pairing that I typically do, but typically if you are not a rogue, you could bring both of them if you wanted to.
I guess that's fair. I didn't think about that because I really have only played this game twice, and one of them was as a rogue. So
I think you've only played it once.
No, I've played it twice. I just didn't finish my second playthrough.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, let's get into his background.
All right. Yeah, let's dive right in.
Okay, so we don't know much about Emmrich's childhood, but what we do know is that he grew up very poor. His father was a butcher and his mother was a cook. So they were very much working class Nevarrans. He clearly was not wealthy, nor were they part of the nobility. And so when a building collapsed, both of his parents were killed in the disaster. And so after that, Emmrich is an orphan, of course, and that is how he comes to the Mourn Watch. They take him in as an orphan, and they feed him, they clothe him, and they give him an education. Later on, he would join the Mourn Watch himself, and we know that he has served with the Watchers for at least 30 years, if not longer. Even though when we meet him, he's very well off, comfortable, and has established a mighty name for himself, he never forgets where he came from. He always has compassion for the impoverished, the vulnerable, and the oppressed, aka the little guy. We also know that Emmrich is a vegetarian, which is apparently pretty common in Nevarran. He does say that he, quote, has been known to indulge in cheese, which to me suggests he's actually vegan and not vegetarian. So I'm just wondering if if that's a lore inconsistency, if that is a different definition of vegan versus vegetarian in Thedas. What's going on there?
I wonder if it has to do with like, because veganism really is centered around like exploitation of the animal, you know? Like
yeah,
they don't
so
want,
like you're saying because there's not, kind of like factory farms in Thedas, there's not a need for veganism.
that is kind of where I'm going at. And I think that like this might just be an inconsistency in writing, or maybe it is supposed to be veganism and there's just a weird kind of substitute here. But I think that maybe vegetarian, vegan, maybe people, I think nowadays some people might actually just confuse the two.
I'm sure people have always confused the two. But anyway, it's not really integral to the plot of the episode. So let's just get into where we see Emmrich.
All right, let's do it.
So we do see him in Tevinter Nights in Down Among the Dead Men, which I ordered these not according to timeline in the game, but in release order. So Tevinter Nights came out first. And we see Emmrich in this short story where Audric Fellhausen, a dead Nevarran guardsman who's become a spirit of curiosity, is helping the Mortalitasi with an investigation. Emmrich is one of the Mourn Watchers tasked with putting Audric's spirit at rest. And that's where we really first meet him. And I haven't read this in a while, but I do really feel like his portrayal in that chapter is so completely in line with who we see in the Veilguard. Right.
I think this like introduces Emmrich from the very beginning into Tevinter Nights with it's this idea of we're introduced to the Mourn Watchers and the Mortalitasi as like these people who are braced with compassion, like, and they center around compassion and care for spirits. And I think like if I had to tell you what I think the difference between a necromancer and a blood mage is that a necromancer, a true necromancer, member of the Mortalitasi and Mourn Watch, would never use a spirit as exploitive as a blood mage does.
Right, exactly. I think you can sum it up even simpler by saying the necromancer cares about the people and the beings around them while the blood mage does not.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, it is such what can seem like a subtle and minute difference, but it is so... it might as well just be a chasm between the two, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think it's subtle or minute at all. I think it's everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think it's what separates the Mortalitasi from being roped in with all the blood mages.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, that and the fact that they are Andrastian.
True.
So let's get into this short story, which is The Flame Eternal. So in this, Emmrich and Johanna Hezekost, who is also in the Veilguard, she is a fellow Mourn Watcher at the time, and they put a spirit to rest by reuniting him with the remains of his wife. This occurs in 922 Dragon. As you know, Joanna is one of the main antagonists of Veilguard, and this comes in Emmrich's side quest. This story does set up an antagonistic relationship between the two. It also establishes Emmrich's ethics around how spirits are treated, and I think there's some romantic undertones between the two of them as well. Joanna, after antagonizing him, tells Emmrich how talented he is. And to me, I think it comes across as very flirtatious.
And reading this story and then how they kind of interact in the Veilguard, I'm reminded of Captain Holt and Wunsch from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of thing. And we knew there were romantic undertones there. And obviously Captain Holt is gay. And I think that there is argument that even though Emmrich can be romanced by a female rook, if you leave him unromanced, he starts a relationship with Strife.
Well, that doesn't make him just gay.
I know. But like, I think there is an undertone of like, we talk about it as spectrum. He could be, you know, for funny quip, mostly gay.
Okay. Pretty sure canonically he's bisexual. So let's not take that away from the bis, please.
I will not take it away from the bisexuals.
So I'm just going to move us right along since Austin's over there being a little bit offensive.
I apologize if you are offended. It was not that.
I'm sorry if you were offended, but that's how that came across.
I am sorry if I offended you.
I'm sorry if I offended you. Okay, for real. Before the Veilguard, we also have Vows and Vengeance. So Emmrich actually appears in 2 episodes, which are 7 and 8. In episode 7, The Demon That Came, Emmrich is traveling in a storm when he comes across Nadia and Drayden. Drayden is dying of a black rot poisoning, I think is what it's called, while they're, looking for a place to do this healing ritual. They find a castle. They decide to seek shelter there. Unfortunately, the castle's hosts have all been possessed by demons, and they imprison Nadia in the dungeon. Emmrich is there to kind of save the day. He rescues her. They fight the demons, and then Nadia disappears. In the last episode, All Roads Lead to Home, Emmrich has figured out that Nadia and Elio is with them. That something's not right here, and that there is some kind of spirit thing happening. And so he basically tells Drayden hey, something's messed up with that. Here are some potions, here are some tonics. Maybe this can help you. And he's on his way.
Interesting. First of all, Demon That Came, Dragon Age knew what they did there. They did.
You're on one tonight.
I am. But yeah, I just think it always kind of, Emmrich just continually is across these stories are meant to showcase his compassion for spirits and his care for spirits, which I think is a good, they really do segue and set him up to where we meet him in the Veilguard.
Yeah, I mean, and they do a fantastic job of it. And it honestly, it's a little frustrating because I just wish they had been allowed to tell the story they wanted to, because when they, have that kind of control from beginning to end and don't feel the need, we have to work this in or we have to use this companion, it's just so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a lot better. But I think that's a good place to kind of stop here, unless you have any last thoughts, and we can get into our mid-break.
No, yeah, you're right. Great place. Let's do it.
Now at Lowe's, faster quotes start at the Lowe's Pro Desk. Got a material list handwritten on a sticky note or saved as a photo? Perfect. Bring it to us and get a quote in minutes. And if you don't see what you need on the shelf, we'll help you get it. You can access thousands of products beyond what's available in-store or on Lowe's.com, right from the Lowe's Pro Desk. Build quotes faster and source the materials you need to keep your jobs moving. Just like that, at Lowe's.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel, maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
Hear that? That's now Crispy and McCrispy strips meeting creamy Caesar sauce. Sounds extra crispy. Caesar sauce at McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I've got this nefarious plan to go around to each of them and secretly tell them all the nasty things you said. That way they'll mutiny and I shall become the group leader.
You know, we have more comfortable rooms and basically infinite space, so why,
Why does the trained assassin prefer a quiet, unassuming spot with good choke points?
Guess you just answered that question.
Besides, I'm closer to the coffee.
Just wondering if the feathered pauldrons are an essential part of the moody rebel mage persona.
What are you talking about?
I'm working on an epic poem about a hopelessly romantic apostate, waging an epic struggle against forces he can't possibly defeat.
What do you mean, can't possibly defeat?
Well, it's not a good story unless the hero dies.
All right. Well, welcome to the middle of the show where we take time to thank our patrons. Thank you so much to all of our patrons. A special thank you to our first patrons, Genesis and Lisa M. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/DALorecast. Another great way to support us is to leave us ratings and reviews on Apple or Spotify. If you leave us 5 stars and some kind words, we will read it out on a future episode of the show. And then last but not least, come hang out with us on Discord. It's a great place on the internet, the Cubs Podcasting and More Discord. Come and hang out with us, talk about Dragon Age, talk about Assassin's Creed. It's just a grand old time.
That it is. And with that, I think we can get back into it.
All right, let's do it.
Now at Lowe's, faster quotes start at the Lowe's Pro Desk. Got a material list handwritten on a sticky note or saved as a photo? Perfect. Bring it to us and get a quote in minutes. And if you don't see what you need on the shelf, we'll help you get it. You can access thousands of products beyond what's available in-store or on Lowe's.com, right from the Lowe's Pro Desk. Build quotes faster and source the materials you need to keep your jobs moving. Just like that, at Lowe's.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel, maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
Hear that? That's now Crispy and McCrispy strips meeting creamy Caesar sauce. Sounds extra crispy. Caesar sauce at McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
My people have heard legends of the Grey Warden's strength and skill, though I suppose not every legend is true.
That's really helpful. What are you, the elven god of sarcasm?
Lies, treachery, and rebellion, depending upon the story. And how could I help? I do not have my ritual dagger. I cannot access my network of mirrors to travel from the lighthouse to anywhere in the world. All I can offer is what I know.
Helpful advice from the elven god of, and I am quoting you here, lies, treachery, and rebellion.
Depending on the story.
You fear barbarians will swoop down upon you.
Yes, swooping is bad.
All right, so let's get into the Veilguard, which is going to be the primary part of our conversation today. So just getting started, Emmrich comes to the Veilguard by way of Balara, as they need an expert in the Fade. Throughout the game, he acts as the chief expert on the Fade, advising Rook on all matters of magic and spirits. He will also speak to the dead occasionally via his method of corpse whispering. He will also bring Rook to the necropolis to show them how necromancy can be used in a peaceful manner. And of course, he also brings with him his beloved assistant, Manfred. Even though Emmrich is literally a necromancer, he also has a deep-seated fear of dying. He is afraid of leaving behind unfinished work, leaving behind the people that he loves, abandoning Manfred, and, depending on your choices, Rook.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where his personal storyline really comes into play, because it involves becoming a lich or not becoming a lich. And this also involves his former colleague, Johanna Hezenkos, as we discussed earlier. Both of them are in the running and are explicitly vying to become liches. And they have a huge conflict because Johanna routinely disrespects the dead, and Emmrich has vehement issues with this. He discovers along the way that the Venatori have been using a forbidden necromancy with the Hand of Glory. Yes, that is its real name. Turns out none other than Johanna is behind this. She has created something called a gloaming lantern, which traps a body's soul, extracts its life force, and powers this huge skeleton construct. And that's what she intends to inhabit when she becomes a lich. Obviously pretty unethical. When the party confronts her, Manfred heroically rips the lantern away, but dies in the process. Emmrich then takes the lantern to free the souls and defeat Johanna for good. This leads us to one of, if not the most interesting decision in the Veilguard. Should Emmrich resurrect Manfred, letting go of his dream of lichdom, or should he let Manfred go and attain his professional goals?
So we had a patron chat, I believe, talking about this in depthly, and we've gone back and forth. I think I have a thing that I want to add in discussion of this, but just to remind the listeners, I am pro denying lichdom for Emmrich. Where do you stand?
I agree. I think I have so many thoughts. I think that the people who say, oh, you should let Manfred go and Emmrich become a lich, they say, why are you denying him his professional dreams, the realization of his career goals? And to me, I'm not denying that. However, I think we live in a capitalistic world enough where we can all understand that your career is not the end all be all of your life. Your friends, your family, who you are as an individual, that should be the pinnacle of your life. And for me, Manfred is so tied to who Emmrich is that it's hard for me to sacrifice basically his son on the altar of professional development.
And I think it comes down to Manfred redefines magic in such a unique way at the end of the Veilguard, should you let him live, and bring him back. It redefines magic in such a profound way that would honestly, if we want to talk about professional goals, cement Emmrich more than being a lich would.
That's true. That's a really great point that I had not yet thought of.
Manfred is a spirit that learns.
That basically becomes a person.
Right. And this is an act of creation and things like that. Now, granted, you could argue that is that not what the Evanuris did? And look what they happened. But
true, but it's still.
The Evanuris were guiding themselves. They chose to do that. Manfred is being nurtured. Manfred is being raised.
Manfred is doing that.
Yes.
With no extra special god abilities.
Exactly. Yeah. And he learns to speak. He learns to use magic and bond and make connections. I mean, at the very instance, this is not a situation where you're trying to debate if Legion and Edie are people.
Right. I was going to say, forget the Geth, man.
This is, and thinking about this now, raising a child ourselves, no, I do see this, and I've become even more cemented in my decision of this. But I think from a stage development, as you know, Shelby, as we've studied, there's a psychologist called Erik Erikson, and he created what's called the psychosocial stages of development. Now, these are not be-all, end-alls of everything, but generally, this is his theories are considered the trajectory that a human life can take. The criticism comes in is that you can be in more than one stage at once, and you can be in a different stage regarding different things. But generally, Emmrich's age is considered middle adulthood, which is 40 to 65.
That's the legacy stage, right?
Yes, it is called
generativity versus stagnation.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I'm going to generativity is the one that you want. They're always listed in the one you want to be in versus
the bad one.
The bad one. And so generativity involves a desire to create, nurture, and guide things that will outlast the individual, such as raising children, mentoring others, contributing to the community, or producing lasting work or art. Stagnation reflects self-absorption, lack of growth, and disconnection. If you let Emmrich become a lich, you are pushing him into stagnation. And I think this is so evident in a conversation with a romanced rook who has made Emmrich a lich, who is basically in this way of like, let me go fight this. You don't need to do this, rook. I can't die, but you can't. Emmrich has learned nothing of his self and his growing in there, of being able to let go and accept death. And I think that he's not really in this effort to create and nurture and guide. And like, I think that the key in this thing is things that outlast the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like being finite, having death is such a intrinsic human experience. Knowing you will end, knowing that you have a limited time on this earth, motivates you and drives you to act in certain ways. If you know you're going to last forever, you will behave differently.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a very, very philosophical and moral, but I think it is our reality of death that actually leads us to generosity.
Mm-hmm.
That leads us to selflessness, because we know we won't be here forever. So we have to think about other people besides ourselves.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely hear what you're saying. And I also think basically, comparing him to Johanna, like she's taking it for granted that she's going to become a lich. Like she's already like, yeah, that's going to be me, whatever. And I also think we see the generativity versus stagnation between the two of them also, and it's just, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts about this choice, and I just feel like Emmrich's fear of death comes from him losing his parents at such a young age. Mm-hmm. That's where it comes from. Just full stop. It is. And so on one level, it's understandable. But on another level, you're telling me you're an almost 60-year-old man and you haven't gotten over any of your childhood trauma?
I mean, that pretty much tracks for Dragon Age companions.
Yeah, but it's a red flag.
Yes, it is a red flag. And I think that lichdom for me is Emmrich passing the buck. Mm-hmm. He's avoiding his problem.
It's the cheap shot.
Right. It's the shortcut. It's the easy way out. And I'm probably getting a lot of hate for this, it's using AI to write your paper or your essay or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets done. It gets the job done. It can do something, but you have robbed yourself of an experience of where you can grow and learn.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. And also you have to sacrifice Manfred. And I know people say that like, well, isn't Manfred's death teaching Emmrich that death is, something that comes for everybody, that life isn't eternal. And I hear that argument, but I raise you, he then turns around and basically acts like, okay, well, I can do whatever I want. I'm immortal. Like, it doesn't apply. Death doesn't apply to me anymore. I can control everything.
Right. And it comes back to this of like, I would argue no. And for several reasons. One, as shitty as I think it is and as false as I think it is, Emmrich in some stage can rationalize
that Manfred wasn't a person.
That's true. That's true.
That he doesn't have to accept his death because Manfred's not really dead. Manfred is a spirit.
Yeah, you're
Manfred
right.
exists in the Fade.
I actually think he does. I think he does say that.
Exactly. And so like that is the stage of that. Whereas I just think that like Emmrich's journey at this point in his journey to lichdom is all focused on himself. But I think that in resurrecting Manfred and seeing something that, like, watching your what your legacy will be when you aren't there, and knowing that I did something that makes a difference in this world, and even feeling like you made a difference, is something that is uniquely needs to be human. Whereas if you're a lich, you're like, oh, well, this might make a difference, this might not. I don't really need to worry that much about it because I'll see how it pans out.
Right. We can wait and see. Yeah. No, that's a great point.
I just think that you rob Emmrich of what makes him human, what makes him mortal.
Well, yeah, you do, because the liches are no longer mortal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And effectively, like, I think about, you remember the Star Wars book we read with the Barad-dûr sages where they die, but then they go up because they want to preserve knowledge and all that stuff?
Yes.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think of. And like when they go in there, they actually like lose any kind of motivation or anything because they've lost any sense of making impact on the world.
Yeah.
Now, I think the liches can make an impact on the world, and this is really kind of a result of lore being written after the games, but like we only hear about them when we meet Emmrich. Like they are not in the courts of Thedas.
I know, I was going to say, but it took us till the 4th game to learn about them. But that's just because they just added it. But to me, I don't really feel like... I feel like the addition of this lore is a bit of a stretch anyway. Mm-hmm. And I just personally don't think it needed to be added to the Dragon Age canon. But I think that might be another episode topic. So I think we can move on.
Yeah. My last thing that I would say is that across fantasy, liches are always evil and are always sought by wizards who are seeking power for power in and of itself. Just think that's really characteristic of what the decision should be.
Okay. All right. So the last thing I have to tell you about Emmrich and the Veilguard before we talk about his character is that he can die during the Last Gambit or the Dread Wolf Rises quests, depending on your choices. So now I do want to get into... I want to talk about the quotes before we do the personality characteristics, just because we've come off of this discussion about his fear of death and necromancy. And the 2 quotes I've chosen from Emmrich, they are, I feel like, complete opposites. And so the first one is, "That's when I discovered I possess a great terror of dying. It goes beyond dread. It can't be reasoned with or soothed over. It comes without warning in the dead of night and sunlit streets. A raw, strangling fear stuck somewhere deep past the heart." And then the second one is, "Small disciplines build to greater works." And the reason why I feel like these 2 quotes are opposites is because the first one is, it's about this fear of death he has. And that's what leads him to want to become a lich. That's what leads him to want to conquer death in the form of immortality as a lich. And then he goes on to say, small disciplines build to a greater work. But to me, it's opposite, because he doesn't put in the discipline. He doesn't put in the effort. He doesn't put in the time to unpack why he's afraid of dying, to get over his fear of death, to, build a legacy of like family and friends. And he does have friends and students, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't take the time to have a family, to do all these things that would soothe his fear of dying. Instead, he throws himself into his work so that he can become a lich. And so to me, it's like you've missed the whole entire point, Emmrich.
Right. And like, this kind of comes into like why we love and hate the character, love or hate, which I don't hate Emmrich at all. Anyway, what I was saying is that it's such an interesting addition here because this is the first companion I feel like that we have that is afraid of dying.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are just like, it is what it is. We're all I mean, a lot of times it's like, oh, we're all going to die.
Well, we are.
Right. But like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're in this kind of doomsday terror. But Emmrich is really the first one that we get that's like, I'm afraid of dying. You know? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think it just kind of came about because somebody said, haha, how funny would it be if we had a necromancer who's afraid of death?
Yeah. I mean, and then they made it nuanced.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, so I guess before we do our do love or hate this character, we can get into some of our personality characteristics. And the first thing I want to talk about is his ethics, because Emmrich is a deeply, deeply ethical person, especially when it comes to the treatment of spirits. And I know I usually just read these as a list, but I actually have a little something to back this one up today. And I just felt it was interesting and didn't really fit anywhere else in the episode. And so this is an excerpt from the Dawn of Consciousness Codex, which is actually the beginning of a book written by Emmrich. And he says, "Let us consider wisps and urges slighter than wisps. When do these forces, I dare not call them beings at this juncture, begin to change? How does one discern the slow shift from pure magic to that which can name its own interests? What begets a spirit's own self-reflection? These questions are the moral bedrock of necromancy. Ever present and vital, they reveal the dignity inherent to us all, mortal and otherwise, by their answers."
I mean, this is a like academic take on, you know, does this unit have a soul?
Yeah.
Like this is like a more thing that, and I always love when people use the word beget, which I think is a really good word that only exists in academic circles.
And religious
circles.
Yeah. Okay, so the rest of Emmrich's personality characteristics, I think, are conscientious, particular, compassionate, protective, gentle, gentlemanly, dramatic, intellectual, introspective, anxious, and ambitious. Do you have any to add?
No, I don't think so. I just think that like there are moments, and what brings Emmrich into this whole thing is Emmrich has who he is, and like is a perfect example of like who he is and who he is when he is being true to himself, and he has who he is when he's acting in unhealth, which I think that like anxious and other kinds of things come in there, but like at his core and who Emmrich aspires to be is this gentle, gentlemanly person, this intellectual person, this compassionate and conscientious person. And like, I think about the conflict between him and Tosh, which I think I really, really hate for a lot of reasons. But like, when he realizes how much necromancy upsets Tosh, he changes. Like at first he is thinking like, oh, you know, most people are weirded out by necromancy. It's just a small thing. Like we'll get over it. But once they have the conflict and he realizes how much it upsets Tosh, he changes. His demeanor changes from an instant because his desire is to be compassionate.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I mean, I don't think it's fair to judge someone on, oh, well, you didn't live up to the best version of yourself, so we can't say this characteristic is or isn't about you. Or like, oh, we have to assign this to you, even though it's not really who you are because you're in unhealth. Like, I just think who we are is made up of the sum of our good parts, our bad parts, and everything in between. I think it's okay that he's anxious. I don't think our negative characteristics are a indictment of our morality.
Oh, and I 100% agree. And I wasn't saying that. What I was saying is that's the fact that Emmrich has the depth of understanding that I appreciate. I wasn't trying to make a statement on like, oh, these don't apply to him, or like this is a indictment of his character.
Yeah, okay, I understand where you're coming from now, for sure. Okay, well, do you love or hate Emmrich?
I love Emmrich, and the more I talk to him and everything, I just really appreciate him because he is a very mature presence in a very immature group of companions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And like, it's kind of like what I think of. He's almost like the house parent of a fraternity or sorority.
Yeah. That's such a great way to put it. He's like the only adult there, I feel like, half the time.
Right. And I think it really is that our age that like we see, you know, Rook, who's coded very young, and regardless of what you make them look like. And, you know, Harding, I guess, is not that young, but Harding is I take that back, pretty young. Bellara is young, Nevarran, all of them.
I don't think Nevarran's that young.
But they come across as these like up and coming, like young adults and what there. And then you have Emmrich, who is just tired.
Yeah, I think Emmrich and Nevarran are really, and maybe even Lucanus a little bit, are the only people in the whole party who have like a smidge of maturity. Nev too, maybe. But it's just like they're the dads of the group. And they're tired and they want to go back to bed, and their kid woke them up in the middle of the night. Yeah, no, I feel you. And I love Emmrich so much. I think he is the best written companion out of the whole game. I think his romance is the best out of the whole game too. And I also think he's the only one that really like compares to any of the other game, like best companions. But at the end of the day, I don't think he breaks the top 5 best Dragon Age companions for me.
And like
I think he's definitely in the top 10. But it's maybe number 10 or 9.
Part of the Veilguard's rankings of companions is BioWare's own fault for hyping them up in their promotion so much.
Yes.
Because Inquisition's companions are some of the best video game companions that have existed in video games, even to this day. Like, I think that the writing in Expedition 33 rivals it, but like the depth at which you can, you know, interact with your companions. Like, even I'm going to throw some shade here. Like, even I don't think Baldur's Gate 3 compares to Dragon Age Inquisition in a lot of ways.
No, I agree with that. I don't think that's a hot take at all. Baldur's Gate 3 is awesome because of the customization, because of the classes, because it's literally just D&D in a game. But when it comes to truly the customization of like your character, the romance, they tell a great story. But again, I think you're right. It's not on the same level as Inquisition, at least.
And so like all of the Inquisition companions are so iconic and so memorable and so deep and nuanced. And like one of the reasons I think we love Emmrich and we attend to Emmrich is that when you find out that he teaches Dorian, you start to see, and you think about it, like I've been thinking about this whole episode, I see it in the way Dorian acts, in the way he presents himself, in the way he talks about spirits, and the way you are supposed to treat magic. That is Emmrich's influence.
Yes, you can definitely see it in retrospect, in hindsight.
And so like when they pipe this up as this is the most companion focused game, we're all riding the high of Inquisition thinking they're going to top this.
Right.
And then they
did not.
They did not. They didn't even come close to the mark, in my opinion.
Well, this isn't a Veilguard hate episode.
No.
But
I do love Emmrich, and I think that the nuance in his character and the depth in his character is one of the reasons I love Dragon Age, and I fell in love with Dragon Age. And so I think he does bring top 10 for me, and he definitely is in the top and outspacing the other Veilguard companions.
Yeah, for sure, easily. All right, well, I think this is probably the end for this episode.
All right. Well, thank you so much for bringing this episode here in the lore. I know that I sidetracked us a little bit with our Erickson stages of development conversation. But
it was on topic.
Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And thank you all for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. We will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. If you have any lore questions, topics to cover, or side character suggestions, join the Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet.
You can also support the podcast financially and ensure its continuation by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/DA Lorecast. If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review or comment, or join the Patreon.
The Dragon Age Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio podcasting network. If you enjoyed our intro or outro music, give a big shout out to Pipeman Studios. Until next time, look to the sky, the dawn will come.
Avatar: Fire and Ash is now streaming on Disney+. It's the film critics are calling the best Avatar yet.
Go, 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 go!
A true epic and completely jaw-dropping.
This is the only pure thing in this world.
Return to Pandora on Disney+.
It will be an adventure for the whole family.
And watch the Oscar-winning phenomenon at home.
This is sick!
Avatar: Fire and Ash, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.